what's getting everyone talking in the Irish Republic. We spent so much time talking about the Northern Irish border issue, but actually rather other bigger issues are happening in the Republic of Ireland. Tomorrow, the entire country goes to vote on yet another referendum. They had an awful lot of referendum in recent years on the issue of abortion. It's ahead of an 8th Amendment vote, and it basically is a bid to allow the government to legislate on terminations of abortion. There's been an unprecedented surge in voter registrations. Many people are coming back from Britain to the Republic of Ireland to campaign and to vote, and it's a bid to change the law, because currently, at the current time, it's not possible to get an abortion legally in the Republic of Ireland. If people do vote to repeal what's called the 8th Amendment, the Irish government is proposing that women could access a termination within the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, although actually a lot of women often don't know they're pregnant until 12 weeks. But after that period, abortions will only be allowed until the 24th week of pregnancy if there is a risk to a woman's life or a risk of serious harm of physical or mental health of the woman. And terminations would also be permitted in cases of fatal fetal abnormality. And under the current law, the unborn child has the same right to life as the mother throughout the pregnancy. So we do actually see a case where tens of thousands of women travel from the Republic of Ireland to the UK every year to get abortions in the UK. In fact, 9 women every single day are believed to travel at their own expense if they can afford it to get access to an abortion. Well, we're going to debate both sides of this. Coming up, we'll talk to Mara Clark, who's from the Abortion Support Network, a group that helps fund women to travel from Ireland to come to the mainland UK to get abortions. First up, though, let's talk to Dr. Anthony McCarthy, who's author of Abortion Matters, and joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is a very, very intensely fought debate in the Republic of Ireland, and it comes after a number of other debates about things like issues of divorce and issues of same-sex marriage, and lots of big sort of, I suppose, moral law changes in the Republic of Ireland over the years. Why is it so important to you and the people on your side of the vote that Ireland doesn't change its abortion laws, when we know that the reality is that tens of thousands of women basically ignore that decision and travel to UK to get abortions themselves? These abortions are happening anyway. Why not make it easier, cheaper, simpler and safer?
Well, I mean, the fact that people do things that are illegal in one country, go to another country, get them done, doesn't give any reason to change the law. I mean, we don't overnight change to a pro-euthanasiast country because some people go to Switzerland. Ireland has an excellent maternal mortality rate, better than England's actually, and the Irish have not gone down the road of abortion on demand. We've seen 9 million unborn children killed since 1967 through a law that said it was going to be very restrictive and it was going to be only exceptional cases, and they got abortion on demand. And what's being proposed now is the removal of all protections on the unborn, all protections. So the unborn will have no rights at all when that constitutional amendment goes, if it goes. Ireland has looked after women. The women are not dying because of the 8th Amendment.
Well, there has been a case of a woman who did die as a result of not getting an abortion because the rights of the child. But when you have it, But Anthony,
that hasn't been found in the inquest, actually. No, I don't accept in that.
She wouldn't have died if she had been able to have an abortion.
Well, that's actually not clear. The inquest certainly didn't say it was the negligence of doctors that resulted in her death. What we do know is that an Irish woman have died in England from having abortions. These were healthy women bleeding in taxis, which our abortion industry basically botched, and these women lost their lives.
But one of the reasons why abortions become unsafe when women are travelling is you're seeing women travelling over from the Republic of Ireland to Britain. They have the abortion and then they travel back again. When actually they would be much safer if they could have continued care in the UK, but they can't afford it.
English women die from abortion in this country, so it's not so much a travel issue. What you need to do is help and support Irish women in Ireland with real health care, and not use this as an excuse for abortion on demand for 99% of cases, socioeconomic reasons, but nothing to do with health. And of course, this corrupts our whole attitude towards pregnancy and towards real maternal healthcare.
Now,
I think the Irish have a very proud record on that, better than England's, actually.
okay, look, I never understand people who say they're sort of pro-abortion. It seems to me that abortion is always a bad thing. It's just sometimes it's the least bad thing of the options in front of us. And I absolutely believe that there is certainly, I mean, people disagree about the point at which a baby has rights, but I certainly believe that a baby, in pregnancy does have rights at some point, I think, which are equal to that of the mothers. The difficulty is when you've got a sort of a little bunch of cells inside a woman that's not even recognizable as a baby, saying that has the same equal rights to life or to make choices as a fully grown human woman. And that's where, when those rights collide, when those needs, wishes, wants, desires collide, you have to pick a side, basically. And there comes a point you have to decide. So after 24 weeks gestation in the UK, basically, there is protection for the unborn child as long as there is fetal abnormality. Again, people may have moral issues with that. But largely across Western Europe, there has been an agreement roughly around the particular mark when a baby becomes viable outside the womb as having equal right to life as the mother. But in Ireland, you're saying the moment a child is conceived, a little speck of cells, it has the same rights as a fully grown human being. And a lot of people would question that.
Well, you and I began at the moment of conception. If I was going to take your life history and wound it all the way back, that's when you began. So you had rights and interests at that moment. You didn't become a different kind of being. You simply continued to develop. And the only sensible way in which to regard human life and human rights is to regard us as having those rights in relation to the moment our bodily being came into existence. That's who we are, and obviously we continue to develop and grow. But when a woman is pregnant, she's a mother of a child, and that happens at a very particular moment, an objective moment of conception. Now, as the child grows and develops, sure, people find it harder and harder as the child is older and older to think of that child as having no rights at all. And what the Irish Constitution does is it says equal regard must be given to the rights of the child and the mother. What's wrong with that? All we're doing here is taking away one set of rights. Okay, but what is being proposed is the removal of a set of rights for a whole group of human beings. If you care about women, the Constitution says, the women's health must be very seriously regarded as well in that context.
Okay, stay on the line if you will.
There is abortion on demand.
Dr. Anthony McCarthy, stay on the line if you will. Mara Clark is from the Abortion Support Network. They're campaigning to overturn the repeal of the 8th Amendment to allow, as I say, access to termination, certainly within the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, and abortions until the 24th week if there's a risk to the woman's life or harm to physical or mental health of the woman. Relatively similar to what we have here in the UK. Mara, why do you think Anthony McCarthy is wrong and that that this law should be coming into force?
Okay, there was a lot to listen to there. First of all, I want to say we're not a campaigning organization because we're based in England. What we do is we help the people who are most seriously impacted by the law in Ireland. So we, for most people in Ireland, if they find out they're pregnant and they don't want to be pregnant, it is a difficulty for them to get the money together and the time off work and make arrangements. But for our clients, it's a catastrophe to the point where we have women Googling, how do I self-abort, because they don't have the 400 to 2,000 pounds that it costs to travel over. I specifically want to talk about...
Why would it cost £2,000 to travel from Ireland to the UK? I mean, you can get a Ryanair flight or a very fraction of that.
Ryanair is great if you can plan your unplanned pregnancy around fare sales. But the cost of an abortion about doubles at 14 weeks and triples at 19 weeks.
Right.
And then
they have to pay, and they have to. It's not. Obviously, they're not UK people. Therefore, they have to pay for the abortion.
Yes, all the clinics here do give discounted rates for women traveling from Ireland and Northern Ireland and the Isle of Man. I do want to mention the woman that he brought up, the one who bled out in a taxi, because interestingly, she had traveled from Ireland. And what delayed her in getting her, she had a lot of health complications, but she also needed a visa because she wasn't an Irish national. She was legally resident in Ireland, but she needed a visa to travel to England. And the needing to get the visa and the cost of getting a visa delayed her until she was quite late in her pregnancy.
And that's what would have resulted. But this is the
Well,
thing.
no, but then the reason she bled out in a taxi was because she couldn't go straight home after the appointment and be with people who loved and cared for her. She had to take a taxi for over an hour to get to a cousin's house. Yeah. So I'm going to say that if the clinic providing her termination were up the road, first of all, she could have had the termination much earlier in pregnancy. And secondly, she could have gone straight home and been among people who loved her.
And this is the issue, isn't it? The idea is that Dr. Anthony McCarthy talks about, taking the rights away from child, and the child, unborn child, even from the moment it's a speck of cells, has the same rights as a fully grown human woman. But you're talking about the fact that women are needing and going to get abortions anyway. It's putting them at greater risk. It's costing a fortune. It's sort of a travesty of a law anyway, because it's being broken all the time anyway.
This is what Ireland has to decide tomorrow. So women are going to have abortions. And so many people have come forward in the last year or so to talk about their personal experience, whole range of experiences. There's a great Facebook page called In Her Shoes, Story of the Eighth, where hundreds of women have posted their experience. And, it's happening. So Ireland just needs to decide, do they want to take care of their own, or do they want to keep shipping their problem to England, or having women ordering early medical abortion pills on the internet? Or, as has been our experience, we could tell you stories of women who've done things that would make you think that it's the 1950s or the 1850s, not the modern world.
Okay, Mara Clark, thank you. Just come back to you briefly, Dr. Anthony McCarthy. As Mara says, you're basically shipping the problem to England. This is something that, we know a lot of the views on this are shaped by the Catholic religion in the Republic of Ireland, and this is a lot of sort of, let's all just pretend, used to go and lock girls up who got pregnant, were ashamed to their family and take their babies away. Or horrific things that we've learned about in recent years about how young women and girls were treated. This is still, it's an extension of that, isn't it? Just shipping the problem to England. We'll live with the fact that people are aborting babies, but they're just doing it out of sight, out of mind, so we don't have to face up to the reality. Isn't that what this is all about?
Well, if you don't care about women, you don't care about maternal
What do you mean,
health,
don't care about women?
Well, because abortion is a very damaging thing to women.
So is having a baby you don't want.
Funnily enough, there's all sorts of studies that show, and this also covers fetal fatal abnormality, that people are much worse off in terms of mental health going down the abortion route. And the government's own study shows that they're certainly no better off. So abortion isn't a treatment. It isn't.
No, it's not a treatment. No, listen. I don't take the issue of abortion lightly at all. I think it's a huge decision. It's a terrible situation. But unless you're spending all your time and energy campaigning to make sure that everyone has condoms to stop people getting pregnant, I often find the debate about this whole about caring about women. If you care about women, shouldn't you say that women should be able to make their own choices?
How about supporting women in better ways? Making maternity units better and better. How about giving all sorts of support instead of saying,
well, you're not going to be there at 4. Hold on a minute. You're not going to be there at 4 in the morning when the baby's crying, when you've got an abusive partner you're now stuck with because you've got a baby with them. You're not going to be there. No amount of support is going to change that, is it?
Yes. One group that we know that really likes abortions are abusive partners, really precisely because they don't want any kind of burdens. So you're actually serving people who don't care about pregnant women by making liberal abortion.
Anthony, I've not had an abortion myself. Instead, I've actually had a lot of miscarriages. I think my view on this is rather separate. I definitely thought of my babies that I lost at 12 weeks as being real babies. Absolutely. So I've got a lot of sympathy with this. I do understand this point. However, I've had a lot of friends who've had abortions over the years, and for each one of them, it has been a very, very tough decision to make, and something they've had to live with, and something that they found very traumatic. Not something they did lightly. They didn't have a casual attitude towards just, I'll just pop off to the abortion clinic. But for each of them, it is something they feel was the right decision for them at the time, and they don't regret it. I've yet to meet one who regrets that decision. Do you not think that fundamentally, as difficult as this is, and I completely understand the concern about the rights of the baby, that fundamentally, at the end of the day, you've got to give the woman the choice over her own body?
Well, there are two bodies involved here. I think that's the point. That's why it's a problem.
But one of them can only survive with the other one.
Well, that's true of a newborn baby as well.
No, it's not. No, someone else
The
can
fact,
take care of. No, that's ridiculous, Anthony. I don't know if you've got kids, but someone else could take care of my baby and it would still be alive. They can't take care of my fetus when it's 12
well,
weeks
so
old.
okay, so someone in a remote area can commit infanticide if no one else is available. I mean, that's
Oh,
the argument. The fact that someone is
really?
dependent on someone else doesn't mean they don't have rights. That's the point. Okay, so the fact that we're all dependent in different ways on each other. So it's very, very important that we understand that, when people are dependent, when they're pregnant, they need help, and you need to help both. You help them both together. You regard pregnancy as something that should be supported and helped. And women do need support. They don't need abortion, which ultimately isn't a solution to a problem.
Well, it is. Okay,
Solution.
well, let's just finally, I just want to go this because again, and I understand, the position of life begins at conception and all life has value. I understand that
It's
argument.
a scientific
But,
fact. Yeah.
well, okay, a human life that has rights is different. But what about in the case of a woman who's been raped, a woman who's been the victim of incest, who's now pregnant? Actually, I would say, other than getting her out of that scenario, I would suggest that abortion is very much part of the solution to her problems.
Well, I would say that it's another injustice on top of an initial injustice, and that's a terrible thing. You don't actually solve rape by abortion. It doesn't take away the rape. It doesn't
Takes away the consequences
help
of the
catch
rape.
the perpetrator of this awful crime. What women who have been raped, who've gone on to have their children, actually talk about the support they need, and they don't regret continuing with that pregnancy. So if you want to
that's
really
because
help
the
people,
vast majority of women in those scenarios don't go on to have the baby, and maybe that tells you something. Dr. Anthony McCarthy, thank you for joining us. He's author of Abortion Matters. Mara Clark is here from the Abortion Support Network. That's part of the group who help fund women in desperate financial circumstances in Ireland to get to the UK to get abortions. Thank you very much, Dr.